Doing these, obviously, it's kind of like if you've been to one of our seminars before, it's always that element. Ben and I still get really nervous as much as like we're talking about the things that we talk about all the time. So I'm just going to pretend I'm in a one-to-one consultation, because I'm sure if you've done a one-to-one consult with me, I've probably hammered your brain about blood sugars before. So we're just going to try and keep it as simple as possible, because we could probably do like 80 hours on blood sugars alone, in the sense that like so many things impact it. Whether you're stressed, whether you're not sleeping, whether you're in a stress state eating the meal, like all of those things, and like the science shows it. And I have tried and tested a lot of this like on myself as well. So like even just sitting down to take 5 breaths before I eat a meal versus not, my blood sugars differ quite a bit. So that's how sensitive they are. But that's also why we're starting with them, because if you can get bang on with your blood sugars and you start to learn like how your blood sugars make you feel, you'll be a lot more in control of your results, your energy, your sleep, your moods. Anxiety is a big one as well with blood sugars. So I'm going to start with what, like, this might not fully make sense, but this is the one thing that I want to make the most sense, because if we can make sense of this, it'll kind of just have a knock-on effect with everything. So I want you to kind of tell me, who's willing to tell me what they had for breakfast today? An omelette, okay. Okay, so obviously Dev's had her omelette. The high chance was mainly protein, mainly fat, and then a little bit of carb. But what did you used to eat for breakfast before you joined GAD?
Apart from nothing, or like cereal, or
yeah, so
something just on the
hot plate. So even if we go with like cereal straight away, so basically like when we wake up in the morning, we might be here for lucky, like in this orange block. If we're having cereal, our blood sugars are going to go up, because that's what blood sugars are going to do when you have the carbohydrate. What goes up typically is going to come down, and the higher you spike that, so if you had say maybe Frosties in comparison to having bran flake, which maybe has slightly lower sugar, it's going to go even higher with Frosties. The higher it goes, as you can kind of see here, then the lower it's going to come shooting back down. And this is where, like with having CGMs on myself, I have seen this data, or with some of the clients we've put them on, they have a donut, it shoots up really high, shits down really low. So that's where, you know, we're getting the spike, and in that we might feel really good because we've got loads of energy, but you're supposed to obviously use that energy and move in your body. There's supposed to be your fuel source, but when we're not using it, then eventually we're getting that real big slump. So again, when you're getting the slump, you might feel anxious, you might feel nauseous, you might feel a bit, again, jittery in the opposite way. So we end up on this up, down roller coaster, because when they come down, like it says here, we get sugar cravings. So we've had our bran flakes or our Frosties for higher sugar content at breakfast, and then maybe that's where we start snacking around lunchtime. Well, not even lunchtime, like 11. So we have those 11s where we have a cup of tea and a biscuit. That happens, right? So we've had Frosties, we've had this crash, we've had a cup of tea and a biscuit, we have a crash, we maybe have our lunch. If we had a sandwich, so maybe 20 grams of protein in there, not much fats, maybe a bit of butter or mayonnaise, and then heavy bread. So mainly carb for that. Again, we've got that big spike, we've got that crash, we've got a big spike, we've got a crash. So we just all day end up on this blood sugar roller coaster. So my aim is to educate you on, again, how you end up there, but we want to stay in between here, how we get there, why we get there, and how we kind of stay there for the best results. Hello, Linda. So it's just that education. And then again, like I have this slide at the end, and I hope that you can kind of tell me what you've learned about like doing this. So you've maybe, again, if you sat in a consult with me, or I'm sure Ben talks about the same things, is like, how do we stop our blood sugars going so high? Does anyone already know that answer? Yeah, we'll still get that spike, but that's not so bad, and I have a slide as to why. But is there anything else we know of that already stops the blood sugars going really high? Can help. That's definitely one for sure, yeah. So you've maybe seen on the slide we have like the circles where rather than it just be like higher carbs, so that would be your Frosties in the morning is mainly carb source. We've not really got any fats, we've not really got any protein, so it's going up very fast. So there's a girl online called the Glucose Goddess, and she always talks about dressing your carbs. So she just means to dress it with fats and protein. So we're wanting to like, we can still, not advising, but we can still technically have our Frosties. But the way that we would take it from this big spike into a lower spike would be if we had, say, maybe a serving of Greek yogurt. So we're getting the protein and the fats there. So the simplest way to take that edge off the blood sugar is to dress the carb. Yeah, does that kind of make sense? Huh? Yeah, balanced meals. So it's like having your carb, your fat, and your protein. So you've maybe heard me, or actually, I'd never had this conversation with Ben, but I was having a conversation with a client, and then he said he had the same conversation, but I hate bananas. I actually love bananas. I love the taste of bananas. I love toast, banana, peanut butter, some cinnamon, gorge. But a banana is just the Frosties. It's just the spike. So again, like when we're just like, oh, grab a quick snack and we have a banana, it's actually quite high in sugar and there's nothing to kind of take the edge off. So if you were to have a banana, what could we have with a banana that's going to take the spike off? Anything. There's the other one. And actually, I said that another thing that was really good for blood sugars in what I was talking about with the toast is cinnamon. Cinnamon does have research showing that it does lower our blood sugar. So you'll find some people do take like supplemental form of cinnamon. People drink like cinnamon teas, or even just having cinnamon with your carbier things is quite a little trick and tip. So again, that's obviously, if we end up on this roller coaster, how do we either not get onto it or how do we get off it? So the element of obviously having balanced meals throughout the day, but I'm also going to show you another graph that will make more sense why we keep our carbs more towards the evening. But yeah, so you can see it's basically trying to stay in this orange zone. So when we think about our blood sugars, we don't want to be too low either. Again, like I said, when our blood sugars are too low, then we're going to feel quite nauseous, anxious. And again, like every time you come down here, it's because you've been there. And you don't always know what these feelings feel like until you've maybe tested your blood sugars and you're like, goodness, I feel like that quite often. And then you realize maybe my blood sugars have been a bit of a roller coaster.
Anxiety is one of the biggest
Yeah.
signs of low blood sugar. Like, people think anxiety is just like mental health and emotions and elements, but with low blood sugar
Yeah.
is when like extreme anxiety, and then as Lisa says, like obviously you're on high times during the day, but dysregulated blood sugar is a big cause of anxiety. So
Yeah. And again, when we've had clients wear continuous glucose monitors, so the little monitor goes in the back of your arm, you would see diabetics using. We have used those with clients to suss out loads of different things. But one client, she had it on, and what happens is you have your app that you're scanning, but I get access to a different app, so I see 24-hour data. It's really interesting. So I would get alarms when you're getting really high blood sugars, but I also get alarms when you're getting really low. So I knew a client was due in for a class, and I got an alarm 20 minutes or so before saying they had had a low blood sugar. So when they got here, I was like, how are you feeling? And they were like, yeah, fine. I was like, drive okay? Yeah. I was like, are you sure? And they were like, I felt a bit nauseous on the way over, like felt quite anxious today. And then I was like, I just turned my phone around and showed the alarm, and I was like, have you checked your blood sugars? Because obviously if they're having a CGM on, you want to be checking as much as you can to get as much data, but I get it 24/7, so I get all the data. And I had said, your blood sugars have gone to 3.2, which is very low. And she was like, maybe that explains why I felt how I did. And then when we had a chat about it, she was like, I actually feel like that quite a lot. Maybe I don't have anxiety. Maybe I don't get reoccurring nausea. Maybe I've just been on this roller coaster for some time. And the more she wore the CGMs and she got in tune with what foods triggered it, what was going on, and how to stay in that orange zone, things were much better, definitely less anxious, and also didn't really, she would be a bit of a pressure cooker, you know, she would let things build up and build up and build up, and then she'd crash and the world would come down and she'd cry and she'd argue with someone and whatever. But we haven't got to that point because the anxiety wasn't really building up anymore, and she felt more focused even in the work that she was doing, so things weren't as stressful in an overall. Have you any questions on this? Again, I'm going to come back to it, and hopefully as I speak more, it'll make more sense. No questions in particular? No? Okay. I forgot which order these were in, to be honest. So fat loss sometimes feels impossible for some women. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah. So when we talk about like fat loss feeling impossible, sometimes these are some of the things. So weight gain around the stomach, even when eating well. We often hear about, oh, but I eat really healthy. I'm looking at Linda because I only done her consult recently. And she was eating really well, but again, she was just under eating on protein. So it was like, but I'm eating really well, nothing's happening. Fat loss, again, feels impossible. Energy crashes or constant hunger. You get where I'm going already. These are all the things I was talking about there. Raised blood pressure, maybe high cholesterol. Anyone got that too? And elevated blood sugar, or what you've maybe heard of, insulin resistance. So there's also the element of some diseases and disorders are often linked to some of these things as well. So like polycystic ovarian syndrome. Can't remember whether it's Alzheimer's or dementia. I was meant to look at the difference. Dementia is all linked with high blood sugars as well. Even acne, again, high blood sugar. So there's lots of kind of things going on. Many women just think, oh, it's my age. I'm going through perimenopause. But it's not. Metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome obviously has like a couple of different things going on. It doesn't happen overnight, but it does slowly develop, and obviously then we get all these same issues. So blood sugar's going up, insulin's going all over the show. We're starting to get fat storage, starting to get low energy. And obviously over time that feels like the body's not working with you, feels like it's working a wee bit against you. But again, a lot of this is just all the blood sugar stuff. So if we can sort that out, we want to become metabolically flexible. So again, when we're talking about blood sugars and how that's going to impact things, it's because we're always trying to burn the sugars that we're taking in, because we're taking in a lot of sugar. So we want to make sure we can shift from kind of burning that sugar into burning fat. So we want to get our body in like a metabolically flexible state, where it switches from burning the carbs coming in and the blood sugars aren't shooting up, to kind of staying in that orange zone that I showed you.
Metabolic syndrome is a bit of a funny word, like you're like,
Yeah.
what is that? Metabolic syndrome is a myriad of like 9 different diseases.
Dysfunctions.
Dysfunctions in your body, and if you match 3 of them, you have metabolic syndrome, which is insulin resistance, PCOS,
High blood pressure.
I can't remember the others, but if you match several of those, you have what you call metabolic syndrome, where your body is not going to play ball with it, really. Dis-ease over time leads to disease.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of influence over that with what we just talked
Blood
about,
sugars.
trying to become more metabolically flexible. Give them the hybrid car analogy, that's always good.
Come on, you help me do that. I don't know. You explain it well, that's why I don't use it, because I don't explain it as well as you do.
I just think like metabolic, it's all very confusing words. Like what you understand, you usually take ownership on. So the way we describe metabolic flexibility is a hybrid car. It can burn diesel or petrol, or it can also burn electric. And the comparison there is your body burning blood sugar or burning body fat. And if you aren't metabolically flexible, you're just a sugar burner, you're not a fat burner, so you're not a hybrid car. We want to be hybrid, diesel or electric. But if you're metabolically inflexible, you have metabolic syndrome.
You're spending more of that time out of the orange zone and kind of into the white, where again you were that red, so you're burning sugar. Now you're fighting to get more sugar back in. You're burning sugar, you're fighting to get more sugar back in. It's just trying to stay in the orange is what's going to get us more metabolically flexible. Yeah. So obviously when we become more metabolically flexible, we get all the things that we want. Fat loss becomes easier, energy becomes more stable, cravings reduce, and your body actually becomes responsive. I just wait on him. And obviously, like, responsive is the thing as well, isn't it? It's because, like, sometimes you feel like you're banging your head against the wall, like trying really hard. You're training hard, you're showing up, you're doing cardio, you're going out for steps, you're eating well, but nothing's really happening. Like I said, I can't remember what order these are now in. So yeah, coming back to the blood sugars now then, hopefully that will make a bit more sense as to where most of us are maybe spending more of our time and why things do feel harder. Again, we want to stay away from the reds because they're where we're burning all of our sugar and we're not able to be in here. So we're only burning fat when we're in that optimal blood sugar zone because we can only burn electric or diesel or petrol. Does that make more sense? Does it make sense now, like, where you might spend your day? Like, your breakfast might take you up on your blood sugars, but you're maybe getting, like, that kind of 11 o'clock slump. Do we get 11 o'clock slumps? Reach for a biscuit. 4, yeah, so that's your second one. 4 o'clock from your lunch. So your breakfast, maybe you're not having breakfast, and that's why you're not even getting your first kind of early slump. But you're having then a bigger lunch because you've skipped breakfast, or you're going for the sandwich, or you've just grabbed a packet of crisps and a yogurt or whatever, like, is convenient. Huh? Or banana. And it is honestly, like, I understand bananas, etc. They're very convenient. Sandwiches, like, you go to any shop on the road, you'll get a sandwich, won't you? But it's like trying to think on the spot, like, oh, I forgot my lunch today, or you've ended up having to stay on at work. It's trying to think, well, okay, how can I do it? And it's trying to create that balance, dress your carbs, and have your proteins and your fats kind of with it. I know. No. If I had more time, I would have put a slide in that was more specific, that's going to touch exactly what you're about to say.
Just like around training,
yeah.
is a good time. Pre or post. So basically, like what you were going to say is, like, training is basically like a sponge, or your muscles are like sponges. They soak up blood sugar, and training makes the sponge really big. You know, you've got a wee small sponge throughout the day, but training makes the sponge even bigger, so it can soak up a lot more blood sugar. Obviously, you're using it in training, but then afterwards, you're what's called insulin sensitive. Your body can soak up more sugar. So around training, if you're going to have most of your carbs,
yeah.
And then we also, so this is going to touch on how it's optimal to have most of your carbs in the evening.
Yeah.
Carbs help with production of melatonin.
And of course, if you're training maybe in the morning, like early morning, you know, maybe again, that's where you have your banana post-workout, or you could have a pre-workout, but it's just finding that balance between pre and post, as in that early in the morning. Are you in need of a fuel source? And trying to, again, use the carbs from the banana when you do come into train. There's no point eating a full banana, 20 odd grams of sugar, and then coming in and kind of half-assing the workout. Like, athletes, 10 bananas in, not a bother to them. Their blood sugars will probably stay about norm.
I used to say, like, log a mile,
yeah.
Like 4 bananas in my
Yeah, like, think about, like, people doing the marathon. It's the same with, like, dates. You know, dates, delicious, but again, really high for your blood sugar spike. So it's trying to, like, just put those things closest to your training. I'm not saying, not also promoting, but I'm not saying you can't go and eat like a bag of Haribo. But if there was a time of the week that you're going to have Haribo, it's on a Friday night after your workout. Do you know what I mean? It's like trying to put it with the thing where you're most going to use those energy sources. The problem nowadays is how sedentary we are. So back years ago, everyone was able to eat bananas and potatoes, and there wasn't really as many issues because their jaws were so, you know, they were moving. But now we'll eat a banana and sit down for the next 6 hours. Any wonder we don't feel good? Our energy's gone up, gone back down. We haven't used it. So it's not even offering us really any benefit other than curbing maybe a bit of hunger or a sweet tooth or whatever. But it's not offering the body any benefit rather than us necessarily. Don't hate bananas.
Please don't leave.
What'd you say?
How do you feel about apples?
Apples. Apples aren't as high in sugar, you see. So it's bananas it's probably the highest sugar fruit there is.
Watermelon.
What?
I think watermelon is the highest GI.
Oh, do you think?
I thought it was like
There's
negative.
like GI. It's white melon.
Yeah, maybe white melon more so. Because watermelon's high waters.
You hear some people all saying fruit's bad, fruit stops bad. It's like that's not true, but it's like
It's the blood sugar side of it.
I have a client and she is trying to go on a fat loss journey. She wasn't telling me she was having a 6-fruit smoothie in the morning. It's like I calculated it was 92 grams of carbs,
Yeah.
and like 4 grams of protein.
And I have a client exactly the same, different client, but I didn't calculate her carbs, I calculated her sugar, and she was having 46 grams of sugar at breakfast. So it would probably be in around like 55 grams of carbs, because sugar obviously is a carb, but for how much of it was sugar, and again, it was just fruit and honey.
You think you're eating well, it's like, it's not that you're eating Snickers and all,
Yeah.
it's like, that almost makes it more challenging because you think you're eating well, and
Yeah.
it's negatively affecting you,
Yeah.
and it feels like this vicious circle, you
Yeah.
can't get ahead. So
And again, like that client of yours, she swapped her banana for an avocado. So she's now got a more balanced meal. She has switched some of the fruit, like she's took the banana out. I think she's still kept some fruit in, but it's the fats now have again slowed down the spike. So rather than being straight up, we're maybe more like this. So we're staying more balanced on an overall. But this is the next kettle of fish. So the thing with, I always have to think how to say this. The thing with blood sugars is it blunts cortisol. Do you know what cortisol is? Stress hormone. Do we want the stress hormone? Where? Where would we want most of that to happen in our day? That one, out of bed. So when we get out of bed, in the first 90 minutes, we should have a cortisol awakening response. This is where coffee also has like a slight debate around it. You kind of teach your body a little bit, well, just drink the coffee, you don't got to do your job, and then we end up with a wee bit of adrenal dysfunction as well. But the main thing being, again, like I said, the carbs blunt the cortisol. So we're having loads of carbs here in the morning. Porridge, sorry Linda. Not anymore. Yeah, so like, I'm not saying you're not allowed, I'm just not advising. Because they're blunting that cortisol awakening response, which is the thing that gets us up and out of bed, getting the energy going, you're setting the tone for the day with your most energy. What we want to see is this cortisol come down as the day goes on. So if cortisol, or if carbs blunt it, what are we going to do in the evening? But as in, rather than having the carbs in the morning, because it blunts it, blunt the cortisol later, because cortisol and melatonin have a close working relationship. Do we know what melatonin is? You know this answer, don't say yet. Do we know? Yeah, your sleep hormone, yeah. So if cortisol and melatonin have a close working relationship, they kind of have this X pattern. So we want our cortisol highest in the morning and our melatonin highest in the evening. Again, when our cortisol is highest, our melatonin is going to be lowest. When our melatonin is lowest, the cortisol is going to be highest. So we want to create that X shape. So again, how do we do it? What's the answer? And what not in the morning? Yeah, and obviously as the day goes on, you can add more carbs in, for example. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense. So if we think about, I'm just talking, those numbers, no, they do make sense. Huh? Yeah, I was like, that's all wrong. So we want to have the least amount of carbs in the morning, some carbs in the afternoon, and most of our carbs in the evening. It still technically applies if you're training early, but again, we might have just a little bit of carbs straight after training just to kind of help with recouping some energy back in. We're making sense.
Yeah.
All the scary stuff at the start starting to make sense. You what?
It's lovely to have carbs.
Yeah, and I think it was both. Linda and Alison, I had conversations with you in the multi-studio this week about like feeling snoozy. Like we want to feel snoozy in the evening. So like if you went for a big pizza at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, by 6 o'clock you're like, oh my goodness. So it makes sense that happens in the morning too. If you're having porridge with a banana, some honey on there, maybe some other berries, glass of orange juice, all those things. Like if you have all that in the morning, it makes sense why at lunchtime we're like, oh my goodness, I can't get going. And then you reach for your 5th coffee of the day. Yeah, because you've blunted, if we go back, blunted the cortisol. So you've needed the coffee to get going. You've had all the carbs, so now you've gone up, you've came back down, and it all starts to kind of make sense. So we want to go for this, and I kind of just put some pictures of foods on to kind of make sense of how that might look. Pretty sure, is that like caviar in the middle? I've looked at it properly on a big screen. Who knows? But obviously, like, I will talk briefly as to, the 6-week reset does have the same layout. So that's obviously why it is so effective. We're looking at different things along the way as well. But these are just random ideas. So you would be having, do we see, other than tomatoes, which will have a bit of carb, there's really not much carbs going on here. What did you have in your omelette this morning? Eggs.
Cheese, bacon.
Sounds nice, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I add spinach, sometimes I don't.
Yeah, and then sometimes you also take it from an omelette into egg muffins.
Yeah.
So it's all the same kind of stuff. Like, I understand sometimes things get boring, but it's just kind of packaging it up slightly different. You could also do, obviously, scrambled eggs, or they've gone fried egg, bacon, grilled avocado. It's grilled avocado with halloumi, yeah. Halloumi. No. Yeah. Like M&S do quite clean sausages and things like that as well. It's obviously with your own morals as to whether you eat pork, you don't, and finding the foods that are the highest protein. I know on the TV screen, there's lots of updated slides. There's a list of like fat sources, protein sources, carb sources, so that might also help. Just tell me to move. And then obviously when it comes to lunch, we're more so thinking even if it's just like roast vegetables or salad. And even then, one of the girls, when she first started the 6-week reset, I was like, she went easy on the salad. I'm talking a big salad. We want nutrients coming in. And there's so many benefits to obviously having the salads. Again, when we look at how fat loss occurs, we need loads of cofactors, coenzymes, lots of nutrients. So our mentor used to say, like, make a massive salad, put it in the fridge, and then you just eat out of that across the week. So just like fire everything in, but you can go like roast vegetables, and then obviously some meat source, and you might want to use like again a fat source there as like a dressing or whatever, rather than like a heavy carby sauce. What I often see at lunch is more so sandwiches, soup, things like that. So we're not really getting any significant protein in. And usually if we're having soup, we're having the bread with it. So it's mainly all just kind of carbs. So I think dinners typically for most people are actually fine. It's just the breakfast and lunch if we can spend some time kind of working on those things. And then as you can see there for dinner, it's kind of some stewed beef, carrots, rice, whatever you kind of really want at that stage is where to get your carbs in.
We often it's the last thing we change when people do
Is their dinner. Because it's nearly always fine. And whenever I'm sure anyone that's been here long enough, you probably snack a whole lot less than what you did when you originally started because you're satiating yourself with enough protein and you're balancing the blood sugars out from earlier in the day and probably hopefully eating a lot more earlier in the day. I had a consult earlier and said that was like, I want you to have like 2/3 of your calories ate by 4 o'clock. If you're not at that point in the day, any wonder you're ravenous at 7 p.m. because you haven't even ate most of your calories. So you should just really have your dinner allowance. And like as much as percentage, like that's carb percentage I'm looking at, but calories wise, like if you're in a calorie deficit, focusing on calories rather than the 6-week reset, I would just still be splitting your calories into 3/3. And then obviously, okay, if you're on 1,600, 1,800, 2,000, whatever, you split that by 3 meals, and that's the amount of calories that you'd be having per meal.
Don't eat the meat at lunch.
You don't eat meat at lunch?
So I'm looking for alternatives, I suppose.
As in you just try and have less meat on an overall?
Turkey now, I have turkey mince.
Yeah.
Starting on that. And
Yeah.
turkey burgers. So I'm starting on that.
Yeah.
But what about things like chickpeas, lentils? Is that okay?
Legumes are a great source of protein. You
They
just have to have
are
a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
And then that's where your carbs start adding up.
yes, it's like I'm not by any means against being a vegetarian, but it's a lot harder to get protein.
Yeah.
And like when I eat like a vegetarian, I'm like, okay.
The thing is as well, like
Harder.
protein, the main thing about protein is it's made up of amino acids, and when you're vegetarian or vegan, it's trying to hit all of those amino acids to get the most health benefits. So if you were only eating like chickpeas and lentils, your amino acids for the day would be quite low. So they talk about having like complete protein sources. All meat and dairy is a complete protein source. If you're not getting it from meat or dairy and you're trying to make it up through like legumes and beans and all of those different things, trying to get complete protein amino acid profile is just a bit harder as well. So it's usually, again, it'll be at detriment slightly to your health. So we notice like a lot of vegetarians and vegans are a lot like more pale skin. They don't have as plump skin. Like there's things like that that's showing maybe lack of collagen, lack of protein, lack of muscle, etc. in the body. So there's always signs and symptoms that kind of relate to if you're not getting all your amino acids.
But like even like you're not eating.
No.
No.
It's just like lunch.
Yeah.
You're still gonna
Yeah.
get complete protein sources like
Yeah, the rest of the day. Yeah.
Lunch per se, like I personally am not a huge fan of soy, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna. Some places show your results by having.
Yeah.
some tofu.
Even like organic soy, though, is going to be better than non-organic.
It's just a lot harder.
Yeah. But actually, Linda got some good spaghetti, were they, technically, from the Asian supermarket. And
Black beans.
yeah, that's what it was.
That was it.
And mung bean was the other one or something, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's all organic.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't actually
Tried it, yeah.
tasted it.
Yeah. But like nutritional value on it was pretty solid, actually. A good way to top up your protein if you're someone that struggles to get to your 100 plus grams. Okay, this is touching on the 6 week reset. I'm not saying that, don't know how to change there. Not saying you need to go away and do it. I'm just telling you as to why it works. And hopefully like it makes more sense then on, if you have tried it, why the protocol is the way that it is. And even if you don't follow the 6 week reset, these principles are still quite effective in other ways, and especially with metabolic flexibility. So it has 3 layers. Again, it's supposed to be 6 weeks. Some people end up taking maybe 8 weeks, because it just takes a wee bit longer to kind of get in the flow. But ideally, you want to do each layer for 2 weeks. So 3 layers, 2 weeks each, should be 6 weeks. We'll see how we go. And the main, like each layer has its main kind of emphasis. So layer 1 is sleep, eat, and move. Even if you just done like this as such, that's going to be massively beneficial for your blood sugars, your health, your sleep, your energy, all those good things. So waking and sleeping at the same time each day. Do we do it? You do now? Yeah. It is quite hard, especially like, you know, maybe you're tired from having gotten up so many days early. But just even trying to aim for like a 1 hour difference maximum is just going to help with the body. You imagine as this business, for example, we try and open it at the same time roughly every day, give or take an hour. So it's like it's that routine to the body, it's the routine to the business, it's the routine of eat, sleep, etc. So we're getting everything going, we're turning the lights on, we're waking up at the same time every day. We're eating, hopefully, within 60 minutes of wakening. So the way that I usually figure this with each client is we're also wanting to move for 20 minutes within 60 minutes of wakening. For some people, they're going to eat first, walk straight after. For others, they're going to go the other way. Yeah? There's no real difference in whether you're fasted or you're not. If you believe there is and it makes you get out for your walk, there is. So yeah, the main 3 things, they're sleeping at the same time every day, we're eating within 60 minutes of wakening, and we're sticking with the low to no carb, and then we're moving within 20 minutes or within 60 minutes for 20 minutes, and ideally outside, so we're getting daylight. I know if you've done this over winter, there was no daylight. You managed to get out in your coat every day in the rain, but you done it. And yeah, so it's following the blood sugar system of we're having more carbs towards the end of the day. Layer 2. So it's all about kind of like stacking these things. Come layer 3, we're kind of really pushing and pulling with the metabolic flexibility. So we're just building all these good kind of habits as we get going. So we're still getting out walking every day for 20 minutes, but maybe you're increasing it to 40 minutes. If not, maybe you're doing still your 20-minute walk, and then you're either coming home and doing another 20 minutes of something where you're getting sweating, or maybe later in the day you've got another 20 minutes of sweating. The main thing here is we're actually sweating. If you struggle to sweat, you're layering up. Or I actually had an idea in class this week. You could put a weighted vest on. It'll definitely make your walk harder, and hopefully then you'll be sweating more. So yeah, get all the layers on. Second is we're starting to build, well, we should be starting to build our water 2 here from layer 1, so we'd already be chatting to you about that. But by layer 2, we should have the water at 1 litre per 25 kilo of body weight. Pretty simple number, just take your weight in kilos and divide it by 25 and then times that by 1. So just figuring out what you should be at. You want to sip that through the day. I've put this slightly lighter because it's not that it's not important, but it's just like more so a tip, is to reduce your water around your meals. If you struggle with digestion and you're down in a load of water as you're eating, you're, what's the word I want? Diluting your digestive enzymes, so digesting is going to be a bit harder. So we want to just reduce that around the meal. And then having a 12-hour eating window. That should naturally kind of happen anyway, because if we're starting to eat around 7 a.m., 6 a.m., because we're getting up early enough, because life makes us, then hopefully 12 hours later we should be finished. But that just basically means no 11 o'clock midnight snacks. Yeah? And we're having, again, just kind of more of a second thing is 3 solid meals of equal size. So that's what I was saying earlier about, you know, especially if you're not in the 6-week reset, but you're looking at your calorie deficit, all of it should have, if you're on 2,000 calories or if you're on 1,600, you take that, divide it by 3. Your breakfast shouldn't be 300 and your dinner shouldn't be 900. They should all be maybe like 400, 500 kind of each, so it's even. I have put here, again, like I said, the 20-minute walk still counts, but maybe you're just layering up, walking faster, adding maybe a short home workout, anything to really get you sweating. But it's not about calorie burn. It's training your body to be a better fat burner and an overall, because it's teaching you to get sweating, and that's a big struggle for a lot of people. Again, I added down here, sleep, eat and move is still priority. We haven't just kicked the end of the curve because we're in layer 2, so we're still trying to sleep consistently. We're still trying to eat first thing in the morning, and we're still trying to move first thing in the morning, so we haven't got rid of them. Layer 3 might look a bit complicated in this, but this was me trying to make the most sense out of it for most people. Here we go. That actually should say something different, so ignore that wee bit. But layer 3, as I said, is all about the metabolic flexibility. So we've built such routine over the first 4 weeks. We've got you eating at the same time every morning. We've got you moving. We've got all of those things for 4 solid weeks. You've built that solid routine. Might have took you more than 4 weeks, but as long as you get that bit done for a minimum of 4. And then what we're doing here is we're literally pushing and pulling at the food. So we've got a nice consistency Monday through to Friday, where we stop eating at 5 o'clock. If you aren't a breakfast girly, you're about to be hungry for breakfast, aren't you? If you've last had your meal at 4 o'clock, because we want to stop eating by 5, so maybe half 4 at a push. We want to stop eating at 5. So if you stopped eating before 5 o'clock, you're sure as hell going to be hungry 14 hours later. A lot of people do intermittent fasting, don't they? But they'll skip their breakfast and have really late dinners. It's basically the other way around. So Monday through to Friday, we've stopped eating at 5. On Saturday, we kind of have a bit more flexibility. So we can eat basically anytime throughout Saturday. I just put these in as random examples. We're still sticking to the same amount of food. Nothing has changed. You haven't got a free pass to go and nail a pizza. So I've kept my breakfast the same time. I've pushed my dinner or my lunch back a little bit, and I've pushed my dinner back a little bit because maybe I want to have dinner with my husband on a Saturday night rather than getting my dinner in before 5 o'clock. So that's why I've highlighted these in orange. On Sunday, we're going to have a late breakfast. So we're going to start eating around 1 and stop eating before 8. Again, still here you'll see I have a 12-hour eating window. We don't really want to ever go past the 12 hours. We want to try and have that kind of done. So again, missed my breakfast on Sunday. Well, I just pushed it back. I therefore had my lunch around 4, and I've had my dinner again at home with family or whatever on Sunday night. The harder part is going from having also no breakfast, then into having breakfast on Monday morning to not eating after 5 again. So remember, because it's another 2 weeks, then obviously from here onwards we're repeating again. And I would definitely recommend, if you're doing the 6-week reset, you finish after a Monday where you come back into this routine. So you're back in eating 7 a.m. in the morning, 12, and maybe that's around 6 instead, 'cause it's maybe a bit more normal time for you. Does that kind of make sense the way I've done that graphic? I was really trying to because when you write it down, I think people then they're like, oh, but I don't know what time I'm supposed to eat at. How am I supposed to finish my food before 5 o'clock? If you were to think the best way to eat is to have a meal of protein every 4 hours or so. That is spiking muscle protein synthesis. That's where you're going to get the best results for fat loss, for energy, for building the muscle. Remember, building more muscle equals better fat loss, easier fat loss, and all the things in between. That is technically the end. I have one last little slide, but I was wanting to see where we finished up time-wise, and then I can use it as a question if I need it. So any questions? Tell me what has made the most sense. What has been maybe a golden nugget of, I didn't know that and now I do.
What about fibre?
Yeah, what about it?
There's a lot of fibre in this, where do you get your fibre in? Because if you're up in your protein.
Fibre is such a tricky one as well, actually, because some people are really fibre sensitive. So you never really want to just jump from the amount of fibre you're eating to a hell ton of fibre all at once. But actually your fibre is probably going to increase naturally if you start following more of that lower carb in the morning, higher as you go on, because what's your lunch going to be? Something with a load of veggies, whether it's salad, whether it's roast vegetables, whatever. And same with breakfast. You had just onion? You said sometimes spinach?
Yeah.
And was there something else? No? It was cheese, egg. Yeah, and that's usually if you do the 6-week reset, we have it on Notion that it'll just kind of drop in. It's probably there already. It's probably just hid behind a little box. Just let us know if it's definitely something you want to do. We'll make sure it's in your account. But I have a meal plan built out for it, and that meal plan does suggest an omelette. It has 3 eggs in it. It has around 100 calories worth of meat of some kind, and it has veggies. Probably some cheese there to top up any extra calories from protein and fat. So the biggest thing that's going to help you feel full is going to be your veggies, because especially protein and fats aren't that big for the amount of calories. If you think about an avocado, how many calories is an avocado? I don't like avocados, so I don't know.
I actually don't know, but there's up to 9 calories per gram.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's probably half an avocado is probably 130 calories or something like that, versus potatoes. There's a lot more to potatoes when you're eating it. So the best way to make yourself feel full is to fire all the vegetables in there and kind of really fill it up. So naturally you would get more fibre coming in. The thing with fibre as well is you've got soluble and insoluble. So if you've added a load of fibre in and you're constantly going to pass stools, then maybe you need to look more at the other kinds of fibre to make sure you're not getting too much of one, and vice versa. If you're maybe finding you're a bit more constipated, then you need to look at the other kind of fibre as well. But Ben often says like your fibre is like a chimney sweep, so we do obviously want to get it, especially like coming from the female physiology standpoint. If you're not excreting through passing stools, as in you're getting a lot of blockage, estrogen specifically will come back into the bloodstream, and we end up with a lot of issues from that. So we do want to make sure we're creating healthy stools, we're pooping once to twice a day or of a certain size, and making sure that we're getting that out, because if it's just lingering inside the gut, it is coming back into the bloodstream, which isn't healthy at all. Does that answer your question though, or is there still more like you want? Tell me what you need. What's the answer?
I haven't been able to sort out mine.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
trying, and then just for days.
Yeah. We do have like a digestive questionnaire. It might be worth just kind of checking, but making sure that you are kind of tracking the foods, and maybe it's just tracking like your water intake and your stool habits, and then we can see like, is there a trend? Yeah, having a look. And again, that's on Notion in the members lab. There's a photo there. I think I might have also sent it to you. It just says like going slow, soluble, insoluble, and it's on the TV screen now as well. And there's a lot more information on that if you have or haven't noticed. Some of it's very word heavy. Take a photo of it if there's something that you really want to kind of take away from that. But yeah, gut stuff is a fun path to go down. But yeah, we can always suss out like what is causing. But we'll have a look at the more simple things first, of how often you're going, the water that you're getting in, and the kind of fibre. Linda, have you a question? Because I know you have to go.
No.
What is your takeaway in the sense of like, what are you going to change or do, or what can you add in to maybe? You done a constant?
6 weeks reset.
Okay. Yeah.
Day one. And I think.
How much did you lose in a month?
Sorry?
How much body fat did you lose in a month?
5 pounds.
3.7 kilo.
3.7 kilo.
Body fat.
Some letters.
Definitely, I wake earlier in the morning.
Yeah, naturally.
Plus,
Yeah.
I'm probably sleeping a bit
Better.
And I can't wait to get my eggs in the morning.
Yeah. And that's
I
it.
don't need to lunchtime.
Once you start building the habit in, and that's why, Ben, I don't think you've seen my slide, but I was like, hopefully it's not too confusing. But like I said, if you were having, not when I explained it, hopefully when you were having your food down here, but when you stop eating early enough and you're not nibbling at bedtime, you want your breakfast, don't you? It's just like,
A lot of people say they're not hungry anymore, or eat very late at night.
yeah,
Like, of course you're not being hungry if you have loads of food in your belly
yeah,
overnight.
Yeah.
So
the easiest way to make someone hungry for breakfast is to make them stop eating.
I say this at every seminar we do, like, there's so much nutrition advice out there online and stuff. And
Yeah,
not that we are like the only one you should listen to, but there's a lot of conflicting info. And one of the biggest bugbear I have is intermittent fasting. It's really damaging for a lot of women.
Yeah.
But it does work for fat loss because you're just cutting the meat out.
yeah.
So you're gonna
But,
lose calories.
well, if you're cutting a meal out, some people will then, because they've not had breakfast, they're ravenous for the day. So now they've actually overate on their calories and they haven't lost any weight. So sometimes we'll get people that have been trying to intermittent fast come to us, yep, I'm doing it. And then you ask the details and they're not really at all.
Some
Yeah.
stuff works for some people and
Yeah.
not for others. So
Yeah,
that's why everybody's different.
yeah.
I did want to ask about like porridge and oats.
What about it?
Because I do love oats and porridge and all that. Is that lunchtime?
Believe it or not, I think it's a great, like, if you've maybe had a very early dinner and you've calories left, like a late evening.
Yeah. Again, that's calories left. If you're following the metabolic reset, there is no calories. You're following the reset, 6 weeks. Don't deviate from the plan. But if you're in a calorie deficit and you're tracking your nutrition and you know how many calories you're supposed to be eating to create that calorie deficit, there's room for them there. Chia seed pudding.
Yes.
It's maybe a better alternative. It's more of a fat and fibre.
Yeah.
My form cheese seeds, though.
Yeah. again, what did you say to me the other day? You're only supposed to start with a teaspoon?
Protein powder.
Seen a video the other day that everyone should start with like 1 teaspoon of chia seeds a day. Like, you just go to like a packet.
Yeah.
You can really like massively cut.
Yeah. They're so high in fibre.
Fiber is like your gut feeder
Yeah.
essentially. You don't want to go overboard.
But also, chia seeds can absorb 12 times their weight in fluid, so you don't actually need a lot at all.
I was sort of doing that in the mornings instead of the eggs as a
Yeah.
change or for quickness, and you were happy because it was protein powder
Yeah.
as well.
Again, it's just having the balance, isn't it, that way? Any other questions? Go.
So I have PCOS and
Yeah.
there's insulin resistance. So how does that affect? Does that mean my, like say the graph and everything, just is my natural thing going to be different and I have to do something different from everything you said? Or
The thing with PCOS, you just have to work a bit harder sometimes. But definitely, like, your blood sugars are more or less is the word I want, sensitive, as in you go on that roller coaster a whole lot more. So definitely, like, reining in on the carbs, making sure you've got your fats and your protein. I would never be eating exclusive carbs as a snack because you're just going to go on that roller coaster real bad. And once you get the blood sugar sorted, your testosterone is going to come back into line. Your free androgens are going to come back into line. Your estrogen is going to hopefully come back in. Any acne, hirsutism, things like that. It all comes down to blood sugar, so it's just getting them in control. Anything else? Go on, Deidre. Does it make sense?
It does, yes, it does.
I think, like, especially when it comes to seeing the cortisol curve and like why eating carbs in the morning doesn't really work for us.
Yeah.
Helps you make sense of like having more of your carbs towards the day. But it is just getting enough calories in the day when you're taking your carbs out. Because maybe you're like, oh, I'll just have like some protein yogurt. You're talking like 200 calories. So it's like making sure you're getting enough in to compensate for saving carbs for later in the day. And that's what I said earlier as well, is like trying to have like 2/3 of your calories done by like 4 o'clock.
Yeah. I think my downfall is lunch and failing to plan for lunch and for the sandwich.
Yeah.
And it's just planning ahead. It's just
Yeah.
making that effort. to
Yeah.
plan ahead.
And even then, like, not saying not have the sandwich, but like there's probably potentially like better alternatives. Like maybe you're having like rye, is it rye that has less? It's more of a fat. Rye bread or rye crackers or something. You know, things like that with like some smoked salmon or whatever. Making sure that you're just getting enough protein in them. I was saying that to Linda the other day. I was like, my granny used to eat banana sandwiches, and I was like, this is my worst nightmare. Banana sandwiches with sugar on it. Oh, that's now why we have the trouble we have, is because
I grew up on honey sandwiches.
honey sandwiches. It's just carbs, you know. But yeah, hopefully it makes more sense about blood sugars, how we should be eating for our blood sugars, how to address the carbs. As I said, like there's so many other things that come in with blood sugars as well. Like it's something that you could probably talk on for hours and hours and hours. That's literally just a snippet, but hopefully if we can eat better for our blood sugars, that's where we'll get a lot better outcomes. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the whole business that you mentioned about anxiety and all that carry on, I mean, that was a big...
I know, I've been listening intently.
Do you want to share a little bit or?
Oh, why was there a question?
No, it's just,
Aha.
I think like your
Scenario.
scenarios is living proof of this, like that.
Yeah.
These people like their blood sugars and it's really stabilized their moods as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you're living proof of this. So
yeah, definitely. And so the anxiety has moved massively.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
with, yeah,
I
everything.
just didn't recognise that.
That's what I mean.
The blood
Yeah.
sugar.
Yeah.
I didn't overly think. I thought it was more linked to conditions that you have, or
Yeah.
Exactly.
situations that you're in.
Outside
Those
factors.
two things.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I didn't.
And like if you were to test your blood sugars at the time that you feel what you're feeling, and then you were to associate it more and more, you'd be like, God, yeah, I had loads of carbs at breakfast, and any wonder now 2 hours later I'm like, oh, I feel like crap.
Would there be any advantage to me having that thing that you talked about, monitoring it? Or
I think anyone can benefit from it on a short term for a period of time. For me, like everything is always about like you know, bang for your buck. They're 50 quid a pop for 2 weeks. Are you at a position where you need to learn that stuff right now? Is that what's holding you back? Are you, like, I didn't even cover how it impacts sleep, but like, you know, there's loads of things to question. Do you need to understand your blood sugars more right now?
I suppose if I went out of my way for 4 to 6 weeks to really adhere.
Yeah, like if you were to just stick to the principles.
And then, yes, do it and then see, well, I'm feeling okay. So
Yeah,
then
what if
You don't need the data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the moving is definitely a walk. Like it's not moving around and going to work and then walking around and work.
It needs to be like a proper, like something that gets your muscles going. Yeah, yeah. And even like such a silly wee thing, we've done it before, like when we have maybe gone for pizza, we're sitting at the table like doing calf raises. It's like, it's getting the muscles going. It's like, please absorb my pizza.
Stop it, no you don't.
Swear to God.
Oh,
And it's like, I had a scone at an event we went to one time and I just sat for the rest of the 3 hours. I was like, I had the scone and I don't want to feel like crap. I know. But yeah, like it's those, again, even, you know, if you go for dinner and you know that you're going to have maybe something heavier on calories, or you're going for lunch, go out with your friends for a 20-minute walk after, or make sure you park further away, or get the train so you have to walk to the train station. Like those little things are just going to help bring the blood sugars back down. But yeah, again, I'll come back to blood sugars time and time again, and it'll make more sense every time. But yeah, yeah, I just said that. Yeah. Again, like one of the girls was struggling with nocturnal hypoglycemia. So her blood sugars were basically plummeting at nighttime, fine during the day. But again, we used a CGM to figure this out. And then we were able to put stuff in place. And now she sleeps all night. She doesn't have the crazy dreams. So it was 100% her blood sugars that was causing it all, which was fine.
That early morning activity, you said it doesn't matter whether it's before or after breakfast. There's no, you can do it. There's no impact. Right? That's okay.
Yeah. With the 6-week reset, we're just trying to do it within 60 minutes of wakening, but it doesn't matter. Like for some people, they're better to just get up, get on them, get out for the walk, and then come home and make their breakfast. Some people are better the other way around. They want to eat first and then go for the walk, but it doesn't impact the results either way.